Interesting. All right, welcome to Reclaiming Sikhi. Yay! Thank you, Interfaith Center. Thank you, all of you that are showing up and for this moment for us to share uh, these ideas in this really important time. Thank you all. Thank you all for cultivating this space where we can come together and share different perspectives, right? And learn from each other and grow with each other and maybe connect to spirituality in an even more deeper and incredible way. Before we get started, are you guys all familiar with this thing right here? You guys know what this is, right? So I'm just gonna ring this. I hope you guys are okay with it. But in the invitation of ringing it, I am gonna invite everybody to uh, pull in what it feels like and attract the thought process of that warrior saint that I mentioned earlier and that we were kind of sharing on, like, what does that feel like within you, within the context of the world and what's happening, and just feel like maybe it's your ancestors that you tune into that were saints and warriors as well. So just an invitation for that in this moment. All right. Last few breaths. You can just come back here and uh, I'm really grateful to be able to share this. I'm going to kind of spotlight this for everybody so you guys can see what's over my shoulder. And the way that I like to treat these spaces is that it's not just a one-way conversation. I really hope that you all can use the chat, and please feel called to use the chat to communicate back and forth. If you have questions, raise your hand or whatever, or if you have insights or perspectives to add. Of course, we have a limit with time, of course, but time is an illusion too, so it's very confusing. But we will all try to be succinct, including myself. Including myself. I gotta hold that one to myself. But more than anything else, it's also important for us to keep things flowing and keep things moving, right? It's really important. But us being interactive is a part of also, in my feeling, spirituality. And we're coming here to talk about reclaiming Sikhi. And for me, that's really interesting because in a way, we all are reclaiming something within ourselves, right? Some of us still don't understand it yet, or we've forgotten it. It's gotten so far away from us. This kind of resilience, right? This resilience against tyranny and oppression and confusion and toxicity, right? Whatever this thing that's happening in the world where things are not harmonious, where we don't take care of the most vulnerable, where the most vulnerable, in fact, are taken advantage of sometimes, and there's more like more and more oppression. There's more and more tyranny. Is that a word, tyranny? Like there's more people, more and more people moving towards that direction, or there are more and more people moving towards that direction, which is causing even more harm. And in those moments of time, I wonder what kind of energy we need. Like what kind of spirit do we need? What kind of spirituality do we need when there's that much oppression, that much an idea that's interesting to think about with that is yeah, I'm trying to I guess battle is not the word, wrestle with the idea of colonization and imperialism and these things, right? Because they're within all of us. You know, there's Indians who are imperial to Indians, right? And Africans who've been imperial to Africans. And so it's not a race thing, in my opinion. However, it's a thing, like this colonization, this imperialism, this supremacy, whatever that vibration is, right? But it feels right now, and many times before, and in fact, looking back at my culture's history and where I'm from, it's like the dominant culture becomes that energy, right? The energy of like domination, the energy of control, the energy of disconnection to nature, disconnection to the feminine and the masculine working together in collaboration. And it feels like the dominant culture is currently like that all around the world. Like it's no longer like restricted to certain regions like it's been in the past, but right now it's like the dominant culture, right? Like it's crazy that we think about that, right? And in a way, it's so dominant, this culture, that we are oftentimes we're working underneath it and with it, not even consciously, right? Maybe it's through academia, or it's through some sort of profit-driven business or Wall Street or whatever. Like in so many different entanglements, we're adding to that dominant culture that is demonstrative and harmful and quite the opposite of what many of the saints and sages and gurus and the prophets were all against. There were no, I don't know any of them that were like, hey, we want to support like tyranny, right, and corruption. Yet how do we get to this point where we're like the dominant culture and we are participating in the dominant culture? What do we do at that point? Like, oh my gosh, like, do we just hope that it changes, or do we just get cynical, and what do we do? Like, in fact, drop that in the chat really quick. Like, how do you feel when you're thinking about that dominant culture being something that is corrupt and destructive and harmful to so many different things, especially children, right? Especially the future. Like, we're literally harming the future, right? We're not even imagining for the future. We're harming the future. What does that feel like? Like, drop that in the chat. What is that feeling? What is that feeling? Or you could hop on the microphone if you want, What is that feeling that like, what is the language around that? Because I can give you a bunch of Sanskrit and Gurmukhi and Sikh words, right? But what's that feeling in your perspective of like how it feels to be within the dominant culture of harm? You could even speak up and open the mic and just throw it in the circle. Angry? Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely angry.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah. Whew. Definitely overwhelming. Anyone else? Sometimes words can't even express it. That's and so this is where we come to, reclaiming Sikhi. For me, it's been interesting because my family left India mainly because of oppression that was happening to the Sikhi community, right? And why? Like, we have to understand, why was there oppression happening for a community that is basically focused on mutual aid, right? That's focused on the freedom of religion, the freedom of anybody from any sexuality to thrive, the freedom of the freedom of power, that anybody can access power, that anybody can access sovereignty, the freedom of sovereignty. Like, this is what the Sikhi community is about, and it's been antagonized, right? And it's like, why? Like, I always wondered why. And I've also seen over the years so many of my, including my family, my cousins, like loved ones, I've seen it, within our communities when they move to America or Canada or England, they absorb into the dominant culture, right? And even I did that, right? You see this kid right here? This used to be me right here. And my aunt cut my hair when I was 7 years old. When I was a little kid, without asking my family, she cut my hair because of how much kids were bullying us. This was here in Fremont in the United States, how much bullying we got for wearing a turban, article of faith. I mean, it was crazy, but she cut my hair and my parents didn't have an option. But even for me, at that point, it was like, oh, I'll just keep it cut because it felt safer and more comfortable. And so we can see how, like, even within this culture and I'll share more about this, that practices resilience, that practices so many different types of art to be resilient, that even in this culture, it can also integrate into the dominant culture, right? It's very possible, and we all are susceptible to it, right? So for me, reclaiming Sikhi really comes down to this understanding of balancing, right? Balancing that there is wisdom in the past. There's wisdom in what people did, against tyranny, what they did against oppression, what they did against corruption. All right, there are stories about that, right? And those stories are pretty recent, actually. And I'll share more with Sikhi. But for me, it's also about like balancing that, like, hey, we have to also imagine a future where caring is the main focus of our economy and our culture. Like caring is a main thing, right? Like where you guys brought up Joan of Arc and Mother Teresa and Florence Nightingale, like where caring for the most vulnerable, caring for those who need it the most, stepping up and having courage for those who can't speak for themselves becomes the dominant culture. Like that vision of that is important. So like we got to look at the past, but we also got to like look to the future, and we'll play with that a little bit later. So put a pin in that. I'm going to kind of dive into a little bit of what is a warrior saint, right? And this is a really important part of Sikhi, and my also coming to terms with who and what and how I need to show up today, because a warrior today is different than a warrior 200 years ago, is different than a warrior 500 years ago, is different than a warrior 1,000 years ago, right? So, and it's going to be different in another 1,000 years or 100 years, right? So what is a warrior saint to you? So drop it in the chat or hop on the mic. Let's just throw out some quick like word flow, word soup, right? Like who are warrior saints to you? Like what makes up a warrior saint? Give me some adjectives. Give me some whatever. What do they have? What tools do they have? Courageously looking out, advocating for the most vulnerable. Discipline. All right, we got discipline. Hold up. You guys gonna see this. I'm gonna be giving you guys this I don't know if some of you guys might not have familiarity with this, but I will open it up to you guys in a moment. It's funny that they did Albert Einstein's thing, right? So let's see. What did somebody say? Say discipline. Okay. What else we got? What else? We'll see. We're gonna come up with like an art piece together as we're doing this. Okay, we got courage. All right. We got, let's see what else we got over here. Justice seeker. All right, nice, Carlene. Okay, Justice Seeker. I like that one. Okay, what else we got? All right, we got faith in higher power. Ooh, okay. Faith in. Okay. I hope you don't mind, Deanna. I just slightly edited yours with love. Let's see. Standing up to inequality and injustices. Yeah, okay. All right, cool. What else we got? Speaking truth to power. I feel that one too. Yes. Speaking truth to power. It looks like we got Mary waiting in the room. I'll let her in. Okay, and then we can speak truth. Nice, you guys are great. Thank you guys for dropping these things in here. Oh, principles. Okay, hold on. That's one. Definitely we can go deep into that one too, right? Principles. Ethics. Oh gosh, you guys, come on. I don't know if I can write that fast. Holy moly. Okay. Armed with love. Ooh. Think about that, right? Like what if our military researched, right? Like what if we had a whole department in our military that was researching, love weapons. And we actually tried them out, right? We're like, all right, we're gonna have these soldiers and they're just trained with love, right? And they're gonna go and build peace around the world. Anyways, so okay, so as you guys are all sharing this and you're still continuing to think about this, and also, fearless love, yeah. And you could keep sharing more. It's cool. I'll keep putting up here, right? It's something to look at this. It's something to kind of like observe this aspect and to understand also and be curious. Where okay, maybe I'll frame it like this more because it's more personal for me, right? So I am a loud brown, courageous man, right? And the more I tuning into my Sikhi heritage and my Sikhi tradition, the more called I am to call out justice, to call out injustice, to speak truth to power, to show up and say things that are uncomfortable to people because the dominant culture is harmful, right? But boy, oh boy, people are terrified of the warrior. Like if you show up like a warrior, people retreat or they just censor you, right? I mean, it's crazy. They just completely just like shut it off, right? And so all these things you guys are sharing up here, do you see anybody out there in the world that's embodying all of this? Like in a popular media, popular culture, completely embodying this? That's something interesting to contemplate. Like, why is this not like why is it hard to? I can't even think of anybody who I can look up. Who I want to learn from this person who's living this way. How can I go study with this person who is doing all this, all of it together, fully, right? I guess the better word is who's doing it transpersonally. Because that's a big part of being a Sikh, right? Is actually in practicing Sikhi is actually taking away your personal things and personal attachment, personal desires, your personal fears, your personal insecurities, and moving beyond them and becoming transpersonal and caring about the collective, focusing on the collective and not taking anything personally, but to be like, oh, wait, hold up. What's happening collectively? What's happening transpersonally? I'm showing up for that, and I'm not going to stop until that collective is peaceful and happy and harmonious. And sometimes I might show up with, I have to show up with, I guess I pull it up here, right? Hold on. If I go up here, sometimes I got to show up with a harmonium, right? And a flute. But I also show up with a sword too. Maybe the sword is our tongue, or maybe the sword is our mind, or maybe the sword is technology, right? Something for us to think about, that what if the sword these days is not even a physical sword, but it's our consciousness and how we use it and how we focus with it and where we also give our focus to, what our discernment is, right? Because I'll tell you what, the warrior energy, whatever that warrior archetype is, okay, I don't know if you guys, you're Carl Jungians over here, right? But if you get into that warrior archetype, it's indomitable. But we're scared of it for a good reason too, because when it gets toxic, what happens when warriors get toxic? I mean, does anybody have any thoughts or expressions on that? Like, what happens when a warrior gets toxic? Where do we see that?
Hitler.
Whoa, damn. Like, that's what can happen, right?
Yes, I'm
Warriors can
sorry.
get.
This is Rachel, and I can't. My chat isn't working, so I'm going to be verbal. Sorry.
No, there's nothing to be sorry. My teacher used to always say, no sari unless you're waiting a sari. Okay?
Thanks.
You're good. You're good, Rachel. Jim Jones. Thank you, Robin. That one's on point too, for sure. I'm there. Another great example, right? Sometimes warriors can start with the right intention. Like they actually could be addressing an anger, a social problem. They might be focused initially at transpersonal issues, but boy, oh boy, I'm telling you, if a warrior doesn't practice saintliness, whoa, right? We'll get into that. But if a warrior doesn't practice saintliness, there is way more opportunity for corruption. There's way more opportunity for power to disturb the intentions of the warrior. Because the intention of the warrior is to protect, to balance, to make sure there's a safe space, a sacred space, right? If you look at the positive side of the warrior, right? The positive vibration, it's to create those sacred spaces and support them, right? To support those sacred spaces. Maybe not so much to do with other things, but maybe that's the archetype. But maybe sometimes a warrior can be multiple things, right? It's important for a warrior to be a lover, right? An artist. Because guess what? You're going to love humanity and love life and love creation way more if you're an artist and you're a lover, right? It's good for a warrior to understand how to be a leader too. Because sometimes you got to you do need that king or the queen to be like, all right, you guys are all fooling around over here. You're all distracted. We can't be distracted right now. It's going to fall apart. Things are going to fall apart. We got to do something and we got to move together like an arrow, and I'll be the tip of the arrow. So you guys don't have to be the tip of the arrow, but we need everybody, on the arrow or a canoe, right? Like we need everybody in the canoe. Okay. So we got this cool stuff here. Now I'm going to kind of go into a little bit of Sikhi. I'm talking about reclaiming Sikhi here, and I can't believe I'm not talking about Sikhi. And some of the three really important principles of Sikhi is, around these ideas, okay? And these ideas, there's no order to these, right? But these ideas started because it was actually a synthesis by Nanak, right? And I'll share actually a documentary series with you guys. I encourage you guys to tune into this. Probably one of the best documentary series I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to show you guys. It's free. You can watch it. It's like 1 hour episodes, 45-minute episodes, original music, but it tells about Nanak's travels. Like he actually, if I go up here, Nanak is one of the philosophers in the world that traveled the most on foot. right? He had like he traveled about 5,500 miles on foot in the 1500s, early 1500s, which is like insane, right? He traveled through like places where he should have been killed, right? Back in those days, right? You could see he even went all the way. There's even stories of him going to Ethiopia, right, and hitting up Ethiopia as well. But he at Mecca, there's some people say there's a statue talking about him and an Indian saint that visited at the Vatican. So it's you guys can do your research about this, right? So Nanak was a traveler, and one of the things he synthesized when he got back from all of his travels was like, okay, there's a lot of oppression, there's a lot of tyrants, there's a lot of imbalance of the masculine and feminine, where men were just completely dominating and like harming women, right? And so he was like, he synthesized, traveled all around, and he was like, all right, took a little bit of the nectar from every culture and community. And when he came back, he basically started building community, right? And it farming community at that, right? Focusing on sovereignty, right? Having food sovereignty, energy sovereignty, leadership sovereignty, right? Like political sovereignty. And there was three principles that these communities were founded on. And these principles, by the way, are interfaith, right? They were based on like, if you're a Muslim, you could go there, you're Buddhist, you're Hindu, you're whatever. There was no Sikhi at that time, right? So it's like, you could be a Sufi, you could believe in nothing, or you could believe in whatever you wanted. But the point is you had to hold the basic standards of the community was to hold these principles, right? One principle was kirit karo, right? That was just like amazing like concept. Kirit karo. You could see him doing it right there. There's Nanak right there, digging, doing some irrigation here, right? I've been doing a lot of farming these days, so like I love this scene of him like irrigating over here, and you got the cow all like, oh, should I drink that water over there or what? And Nanak's like, no, you're not. You gotta wait. This is water's going to the plants. Okay, you got your own water. But kirit karo is really the essence of like putting your best effort forward. Like whatever you're doing, be honest with that effort and put it in. Like put your effort in. Like it's so important. It's such a valuable opportunity in life to live and to do and to be a human being, right? And so do those things and show up and be present and give what you give, your skills, give your understanding, your perspective, your wisdom, your resources. Well, that's another one, right? But good guys are actually doing the work, right? Maybe work is not the right word. It's putting forward discerned and honest work, because honest work isn't making money for somebody who's harming others, right? But honest work could be maybe just digging a hole that's going to be growing food for future generations, right? But that's not going to make you any money. So there's interesting things to think about when we think about what is honest work, what is honest effort. Okay, the second principle, but that makes sense, right? It's not a big deal. Anybody can do that. You could practice any religion or no religion, right? The other one was always share, right? Like give more than you receive. Always be in the act of abundance and be in the thought process of abundance mindsets. One of my favorite teachers once taught us that if you ever want to differentiate Eastern religions and Western, and maybe indigenous religions and more Judeo-Christian, right? Is that the right term? Religions, right? Like religions based on the book, right? And religions based in indigenous cultures. The greatest difference between those is that one is based in abundance mindset, the other is based in scarcity mindset. And it makes sense because one's from the desert and one's from like the farms and the forests and the rainforest, right? Where you have an abundance of resources. Whereas when you're in the desert, you're gonna have less. So you could see how actually our dominant culture is also taking on some of these spirits. And actually it's funny, even I notice even in Sikhi, right? Sikhi starts to take on some of these dominant culture ideas, and even Sikhi people start becoming scarce and are holding on to their stuff, and they're not opening their heart and sharing and giving more than they're receiving. And maybe it's not even about that giving more than you're receiving, because it can't be conscious, but it's more about like an ethic, like it's a baseline ethics that like I always have enough. And like, but there's folks who need it. I'm going to give that because I'm going to get more because I'm putting good effort forward, right? And the effort will translate. So you could see how that effort thing kind of comes into that balance. And the third principle that everybody thought was nam jup, right? Which that's a hard thing to say over here. It's written always remember God throughout the day, but like I feel it's more a sense of connecting with the interconnectedness of everything, right? Like being in that connection to everything and all as much as you can. And if you could do that all the time, like through your day, through your night, everything you do is just going to be amplified. It's going to be almost like a prayer is going to be placed on everything you do. Whether it's, shaking somebody's hand or hugging them or receiving food and eating the food or going to the bathroom. I mean, and everything becomes sacred. if you're remembering that interconnectedness all the time. In fact, it becomes easier to be a warrior saint, but that's not, we're not there yet, right? For right now, it says they're building the communities, right? So they're like, all right, but it does help in a community sense, right? When you talk about mutual aid, right? If you're constantly thinking that everybody's connected and interconnected, then anybody who's like, if there's a single mother and she can't feed her kids, that's your kid. You know, you can't help but feel that's your kid, and you're going to support that woman, right? If there's a family that doesn't have access to healthy resource, healthy water, healthy resources, you'll be like, that's my family too, right? So put a pin in this. So this community started building 1500s, 1600s, while there's incredible oppression, okay? Like during incredible oppression, these off-grid, not off-grid, but they're communities where they're open door. So people are coming in and out and they're like, wait, I can practice whatever religion I can. And the women are coming in and the women are like, wait, I can like, I don't have to like jump in the fire if my husband dies. Oh my God, this is great. I'm going to stick around here. And the criminals that were like casted out of communities, even the criminals were allowed in because the criminals were like, wait, if I put effort forward and I show up in service and I'm like this, I can have a place to live and a place to sleep and a place to be. Actually, I don't need to steal anything. This feels great, you know? And all these pressures that society creates, these communities started becoming a salve. It became a social, literally a social paradigm shift, okay? Which Nanak and then subsequent teachers after him helped cultivate, right? And here I'm sharing really over my shoulder, this cultivation. Thank you, Caitlin. This cultivation was really cool, but you're gonna miss the thing at the bottom. Oh no, you guys, I'm gonna play a little thing for you, but okay, go for it. Those of you guys that are sticking around, you're gonna get treated. So over here, you can see over my shoulder, this is Nanak, and this is the 10 gurus that were in and around and after him, right? And each guru was a little bit different. Even over here, you'll see there was a kid guru, right? Guru Hari Krishan. He actually, and they like, he became a guru, but he was a kid. And his like, it was like so cool to see. And you know, this is like 1600s, right? So this is cool to see not too long ago that this community, this spirituality was forming, but the spirituality wasn't a religion. It was a movement. It was a political movement. But even within this political movement, this political social movement, they even honored the kids. And they were like, wait, kids also have wisdom and they can teach us a lot and maybe we should listen to them. And if they're angry and if they don't see a future, like maybe we got to listen to them. So he was really important. And he was actually, his courage was really interesting because he ended up being guru during an outbreak. There was a huge disease outbreak that happened in India. And his interest was actually, we got to go show up. And so we got to go show up and help those families and go show up and share herbs and share medicine with the communities that were suffering. And so he actually ended up, I think it was smallpox, he ended up getting it himself and he passed away, but he got it after showing up in all these communities, bringing food and water and bringing herbs. And who knows how many people got saved and supported just by people showing up and care, right? And how powerful, we know how powerful care is when it comes to medicine, right? So here's my invitation. This is kind of where we get to kind of a more a playful exercise, okay? What's the vision of transformation? And one of the things that I really, really love about, you know, kind of reconnecting with Sikhi is kind of like it's like a mutual aid interfaith culture, right? You guys get what I said? Mutual aid interfaith culture, right? And that's what Sikhi really is about. And it's not, originally Sikhi is not a religion, right? It's actually like, hey, can we come together with all of our different resources and skills and abilities and backgrounds, and then can we show up wherever there's needs in the community proactively, not reactively? So we're not waiting for a disaster. We're ready when there's a disaster, right? And interfaith, so actually accessing the power and the resourcefulness and the wealth. I mean, you guys know, right? You guys are universities and you guys have been around. There's a lot of wealth out there just sitting there, right? Especially in spiritual communities, right? And so what if that spiritual wealth and that financial wealth got used as spiritual wealth, right? And that spiritual wealth was for the mutual aid of those who need it, right? And cultivating that spirit. So in that spirit of visual transformation, there's a word down here, Chardikala. Oh my gosh, what a cool word, Chardikala. It's like there's like it's cool. It's interesting, like coming from a culture where we speak different languages than English, because in English there's like like in English there's words, right? Like there's homonyms, right? And there's no homonyms, right? In Punjabi or Gurmukhi or Hindi or Sanskrit. So it's like, whoa, that's a weird one, right? But there's words like this, like Jadikala. Like I could write essays about what it means, because and then other people would write essays about what it means. And when as I'm sharing what it means, there's also this gentleman here, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, who was the last official living guru. You can see him here. He's riding a horse. He's playing the sitar. He's riding another horse. He had a hawk. So he was a warrior. He was a hunter. But I forgot to mention, like just take that motion out. So you had this like non-violent guru traveling around the world, doing mutual aid stuff, learning music and art and connecting with people. And by the like 150 years later, you end up with Guru Gobind Singh Ji, who is a warrior. Like, wait, how did that happen? But you can see this transformation of this community happen because guess what? When you try to be a non-violent community that's going to be all about love, how does that work when you have like toxic, like warriors around? Like, what are you gonna do about that? Like when there's like toxic warriors that want to invade your land, that want to take your woman, that want to destroy your culture, right? What happens? And we've seen that all around the world, like where there was non-violent communities, indigenous communities. What happened when a violent culture comes in? Bye-bye. Bye-bye to that culture, right? Does that happen? So the Sikh community actually transformed. It went from a non-violent community to a violent community, but it still stayed non-violent because it honored the saint. But through this process, it also said, wait, we got to protect the freedom of religion. We got to protect the freedom of information and knowledge and wisdom. I mean, they actually literally protected, there would be no yoga guys today. Like people that you don't understand. When I travel through India, I get like approached by like Indians that were non-Sikh who are like, thank you so much for your ancestors. Like it's crazy, you guys. There would be the Vedas probably wouldn't be around today, right? So much knowledge and wisdom from India wouldn't be around if it wasn't for the Khalsa that formed, right? This organization of warrior saintliness. If that didn't form, like things would have been obliterated, and they were obliterated. You guys know the Buddha statues in Afghanistan were obliterated, right? Like this stuff is still happening. It's not like it's not happening right now, right? Within even our dominant culture, things get obliterated and convoluted and misrepresented, right? Appropriated is another word that's used a lot, right? But like guess what? If you have a culture that's actually practicing martial arts, that's actually practicing mental and physical and spiritual martial arts, it's also going to be really important for that force to be around because it's like, where is that force, right? So we need that force. But coming back to this Chardi Kala, so Chardi Kala was a term coined by Guru Gobind Singh Ji to rally everybody. Because in those times of great despair, in those times of great disconnection, in those times where we feel like we're hopeless and we feel like the world's just gonna fall apart and everything, we can't, it's so hard to muster like any optimism or idealism or any hope, right? Chardi Kala it's a cry. Like it's like a war cry, right? To be like, actually, we're gonna show up with undominable optimism that what anybody does, they could do anything to us, but we're always going to be optimistic, infinitely optimistic, indomitably optimistic. That energy is coursing through our veins. And if we show up in that way, that's going to shift. And you just need a few people like that, and it's going to shift. But maybe it's not a few people, maybe more people. Maybe it becomes the dominant culture that we can always do better than what we have now. That we always can create a system, a culture that cares more about all of us, each one of us, even us, that cares even about us, right? And so with that vision of transformation, with this Chardi Kala energy, right, that we have indomitable optimism, that in this space that we're talking about right now, and right now in this space right now, the invitation is to come down here, and I have a blank sheet here, is drop in the chat or hop on the mic. What kind of culture can we create that cares? Like, what is a mutual aid culture? Connecting spirituality, what does that system look? What does it have? Like throw out, like it could be verbs you throw out, but maybe they're nouns, maybe they're places. Like envision, use your imagination. What is that culture? What is that community that cares? What things does that have? What are some basic things that has? Housing, food. Thank you. In fact, I'll even go in here and I'll do housing right here like this, right? And you guys can see this is kind of fun. I can do like a little house right here, and we got education. So if you guys drop some things in there, I'll kind of make it a little bit more, we got education, right? We got an apple thing, right?
Connecting with people, meeting people.
Meeting people. I like that. Whoops. Meeting people. Yeah, one of my favorite things about Sikhi and reconnecting with Sikhi is that we celebrate we celebrate all the farming holidays. So we celebrate when we plant, we celebrate when we harvest, we celebrate around the moon, right? And like all that stuff. When we celebrate, we like dance and we go crazy. We share food and we share all our different spiritualities, right? People sing and share the different spiritualities all together. And like that Mela, that festival, is a really important part of social. It's social capital, right? It literally is a type of investment that the community does to be able to trust each other and connect with each other. Music, art, dance. Oh my gosh, you guys are dropping it all over here. Hold on. I'm still on this, like connecting with people. I got this one. Okay. Community that shares resources. Oh, I love that. I gotta I would put this in here. Community that shares resources. Let me see. Community that shares resources. You guys are good. No, we're gonna make a pretty amazing culture system right here, just with the people we have right here. Restorative justice. Ooh, I wonder if I could find an element that's like that. Restorative justice. Okay, so while I do this, I'm gonna copy this link. I'm gonna give you guys anyone with this link can edit now. Okay, so I'm gonna share this with you guys. So it's a responsibility, okay, everybody? There's a responsibility that when you jump in here, you can have fun with this, but it's kind of like it's really easy. And if you go, you can if you click on it, you'll jump in and you can see you can like go down to the place where I'm at. And you can, if you're on the left side, if you see over here over my shoulder, there's like elements and text and brand. You could just click text or you click elements and you can like search the elements and you could put it in, right? And it's okay if you don't want to do that, that's fine too. You can just drop the things in the chat and I'll keep adding stuff in the chat, right? So as we're doing this, oh, by the way, I keep talking. You guys are welcome to interrupt me and then I'll listen because you guys know how it is on Zoom. If we were like sitting around in a circle, I could see you, right? So I can't see you guys right now. So just talk up and interrupt me. I'm okay with that.
There's a multicultural festival in Elk Grove, California on Saturday. And I think going and participating in other people's festivals, learn and being part of that, where you're standing next to someone and honoring what they're honoring.
I love that. I love that. Just being in curiosity.
Yep.
Love that.
That's me. I was born with curiosity.
That's your middle name?
Aha. Yes.
This is amazing, you guys. Yeah, I love this. Some people, all right, cool. I got people say, oh, garden. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And, as we're sharing that too, some of these things and talking about being curious and connecting with different cultures and communities, it's also like I learned this while I've been farming, right? That actually when we want to be more resilient against pests, when we want to be more resilient against fungus that's toxic or bacteria that's harmful, actually it's best to have a diverse collective of complementary organisms, right? And they like actually support and protect and do all this shamanic stuff with each other, right? Some of them like do the digging, some of them do the clearing the pests, some of them create the beautiful smells attracting the butterflies, right? And they're doing the pollinating. And like what if we look at our spiritual systems like that? Like what if that's also similar to our spiritual psychic organisms? Is that a terminology? Did I just make up something? Psycho-spiritual organism?
Sounds good to me.
Don, what do you think? Does that pass? Is that official? Can I make that official? Yes. Psycho-spiritual organism. We're doing it right here. I mean, this is a psycho-spiritual organism, but also sometimes we have really think about like the vortex of like religions that have been cultivated for a long time and that also have been very integrous with how they maintain their cultural practices, right? Like I know that with Sikhi, they're still doing things that they were doing when they were fighting the Mughals or fighting the British or whatever. They're still doing it today. The same things. And they're practicing the same things at the beginning. Before you go to battle, you do the same meditation and the same prayer before you go to battle. And so it's like, oh, like what if when we cultivate these psychic practices, or we cultivate these emotional, social emotional practices with others, what if that resonates within our DNA? What if that resonates within our communities? And actually that can power us to be more socially just, or it could be power us to be more resilient. Rachel, yes.
Yes, we have community gardens here in Sacramento, and we also have churches that have gardens that share food with the homeless. And I think
Mm.
people doing gardening together also share that information you just talked about.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's funny that you say that. In Hawaii, there's a one of the most sacred spaces I found there is the mulching center, the community mulching center. Because like everybody comes there to get the mulch, but they share seeds and story and music. It's so
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it's smelly. If you want to get spiritual, you got to get in the dirt, right? You got to get in the mud. Real spirituality, right? All right, that's my opinion. I don't want to project that on anyone, right? But gosh darn, you get in that dirt, find some cool stuff. Um, so as we're sharing this, we're kind of, cultivating, you guys, some of you guys are in this thing, which is great. And you guys can all, the link is yours now. So if you want to tune into this, I come from the type of spirituality that like everything is changing and dissolving all the time. Let's not be so attached to whatever it is. So, this is what it is. You can always look back at this and save this. Maybe it might change in a year. Who knows? Let's see what happens. Right. Maybe you guys have ideas that you want to share and you could share it in here beyond this. But I kind of wanted to, give us a little completion with a little Sikh, a Sikh prayer, right? Not a Sikh prayer, but a Sikh. It's actually pronounced Sikh, right? Which means student, right? Or seeker, right? Actually, somebody said that earlier, seeker. So Sikhi means seeking, right? Those who seek, right? And so, I'm going to share this song with you. But the deeper intention, as I share this, is to cultivate the vision that we shared, right? This vision that we're sharing up here is as I'm sharing the music, be in the word we have is ardas. Be in the gratitude of all of those warrior saints that have stepped up in the past, including those that are within us, our ancestors, right? But also those from many other cultures and stories, and just have thanks for all the martyrs and all the people who sacrificed their lives and all the people who maybe they're sacrificing their lives with actually just working on the farm their whole life. It might have been that simple. Maybe it wasn't so extravagant. Just honoring all the stories, but from before and then coming to today, all the stories of the people who are showing up today to be the warrior saints, to lead the shift, the social shift towards a dominant culture that cares, right? That rather than corrupts. So whoever those people are, hold them in your space in your hearts and your thoughts and your feelings, right? In the space. And then this thing right here that's over my shoulder, this thing that everybody's kind of sharing and adding a little bit of juju into, right? Let's visualize that too, right? Let's actually visualize, what does that feel like? What does it taste like? What does it sound like, right? The music and the art. What is it? Let's feel it. Let's actually take ourselves to that space as well, so that maybe it happens a little bit more. Like, what if when we think about it collectively and we're in sangat, we're in holy community, we're in sangha, right? We're together and we're thinking about things in this way. What if it happens more? Valerie, yes.
As I posted up, it says many in body, one of mind. If it could be millions of us, but if we're all of one thought and one of one purpose, that's what we call in Buddhism, many in body, one of mind. It doesn't matter where you come from, how you got there, but if we're all working for the same goal, we can manifest that.
Or we'll manifest it. Or non-binary manifest. I don't want to, everybody to each their love, right? Thank you, Valerie. That was awesome, and that really hits on the point of it, right? Is what if this is a part of all of us even showing up today? That all of you that are here today, there's a reason you showed up, and what if that reason is more than something very superficial? What if it's an activation for something that's even beyond this? So I'll leave you guys with something about that in a moment, but let's share. let's share this vibration with you guys. So I got one of our favorite instruments in the Sikh tradition is the harmonium. And this is a great way for us to tune in to our, maybe tune our chakras or connect with our, to speak our truth, right? So it's important to kind of open up your vocal cords and do this, right? Thumbs up, you can hear it? All right, here we go. All right. So as we come back here to the space, always remember that you could tune in to the warrior spirit energy anytime you want, right? It's in all of us. And if you're ever feeling called that you need that energy to feel these things, oh my gosh, there's so much information being shared over here. But if you need to feel the courage, all these different things to show up for all these different things, and you need these tools. Wait, did I share the tools over here? There, right here. If you need these tools, that you have it within all of you, but you also can always go to a Sikh temple anywhere in the world and tune into it because the energy is still there. And while you go to a Sikh temple, you can also end up getting some good Indian food, right? Which we always give. It's called the Langar Community Kitchen. So part of our mutual aid is anybody can eat. So go to any Sikh temple, there'll be food there, right? Anytime. And usually give them a call, make sure they're open. There'll be food there. There'll be music oftentimes there. You'll hear different harmonium and tabla and different music. So if you ever just need to feel that safety and connection to food and harmony, that's there. And then if you want to teach or learn or whatever, be involved in any way, there's opportunities. But also, what I want to drop in the chat with you guys is a project that I'm starting to be integrating with other people. It's actually a collective effort, an interfaith effort to build a mutual aid culture center, mutual aid spiritual center in Hawaii. especially with what's happening in Maui and the Big Island. There is no interfaith, a strong interfaith community there, and there's no the mutual aid also is kind of not non-existent. And you guys see what's happening in Maui, right? So we're starting to build that movement. So if anybody wants to be involved, drop your email in the chat, or find out from Carrie how we could stay in touch. But we're looking for all kinds of different collaborators and contributors to build a society of saints, right? Really, that's kind of what we're imagining, is creating a society of saints that is focused on mutual aid and proactive about it. So what do we got here? We got that's a beautiful song. What does it mean? Oh, I was saying Waheguru. Okay, Waheguru, Wah means whoa, like wow, right? Like in the Indian culture, like even the Sufi culture, Wah means like whoa, wow, that's amazing. And Wah Guru means like wow, there's a guru everywhere. Like the translation of that and how people like feel about it is that there's a guru, there's a teacher, there's a learning lesson in all things, in every moment, everything, in every person, every animal, and anything. It's interconnected, right? Teacher, right? And so that's acknowledging it. So when something bad happens, we go why guru, right? And when something good happens, we're like why guru. And when somebody teaches us something, or we meet somebody awesome, we're like wah guru, or something. Whatever, we just treat everything with the Waheguru, and it helps us kind of tune in to that understanding that everything's a lesson, and we learn more when we can turn even tough situations into a lesson. It's very powerful. Thank you, Carlene. Okay, before we end, it's 5. I know some of you guys want to leave. You guys are welcome to. Does anybody have any questions, any thoughts, any feedback? Blah 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 blah. It's 1 hour. It's kind of hard to do 1 hour. What's so much stuff? Time goes so fast.
This interconnectedness that you speak of, do you think people believe that we're all interconnected?
Gosh, it's first of all, my feeling might not mean much to people. However, the other question of your question is do they need to?
How would you recognize your humanity if you don't?
But what if interconnectedness has to be felt?
How do you feel your humanity?
I feel really connected to interconnectedness when I'm like playing music with other people.
But you know what I'm saying on a generalized scale of things. How many people really believe that they're interconnected with the person next to them, or in front of them, or behind them? How many people truly believe that? You see, and I think that if you don't believe that interconnectedness, then you can't really understand humanity. You know, so that's why I pose that question. How do we work on getting others outside of this circle to understand that we are all interconnected?
So it's wonderful you're sharing that. I'm so grateful that we're blessed with like incredible jazz musicians from the past 100 years or so. Guru Nanak over here was a Sufi musician, right? Traveling all around India and Mecca and Middle East and parts of Africa. Like music is so powerful, and and it's so beyond ideology, right? And if you can infuse within music some sort of demystifications or deconstructions, like deconstructing like dominant culture, right?
Look what Tina Turner did.
Yes, thank you. John Coltrane.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. And that's so funny that you're talking about jazz. That's my subject. My nephew is a jazz musician. My brother was a jazz musician. So how mystic is that?
I mean, maybe it's a part of our liberation. Like the story of liberation requires us to fully embrace the crazy music, the crazy music makers, because we're going to make music whether they tell us not to or to do. We don't need a stage.
Right. And especially if you dance through life You know, if you dance through life, you're always connected to that music. You know, and you know, everything is based on sound, the vibration of things. You know, I think that's I chant. I'm a SGI Buddhist. I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and that word kyo means the sound of life's teaching. So as you vibrate with that sound daily, you're creating your own vibration out in the universe. And so you're able to hear the music from all places, knowing that, because what you were playing, that instrument, what do you call that?
Harmonium.
Harmonium. Okay, okay. It resonated with me, and how you have to work your fingers in your hand at the same time and get the notes just right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and
Harmonium.
yeah, and
Ah,
it's interesting too. You know, you know, this idea of like connecting to the vibration is inherent in every indigenous culture. You know, and the Sikhi culture is actually indigenous. It's from the forest. We went back to the forest. We're from the farm, and
okay.
part of that a part of playing music is also playing it and connecting with the soil, right? And like
Uh,
we celebrate and we share music most when there are things related to the soil, to nature. So you could see like an appreciation forming, right? By us vibrating and creating vibrations that honor.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I was just on a Zoom call for the Interfaith Alliance watching someone talk about Sikh. Or
No
Sikhi
way.
religion. So yeah, it's not a religion, but yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest download. Anybody else have any questions or thoughts? I haven't heard from all of them.
Back in States.
You are.
It feels good. I'll build a water pick tonight. I've had to floss the last few nights.
I don't think
I've
Debbie
retired.
is meaning for us to hear this.
Wait, hold on. Which one? That's Debbie? Hold on. Let's see if we
Yeah.
let's see if we can mute her. Hold on.
Just a second.
Oh, I can't mute her. Yes, Rachel.
Yes, I run an Interfaith Explorer organization since 2010. And believe me, we can't expect to think that everyone is going to, what the lady was talking about, feel that we're all one. But you do it by going out, meeting people, and changing hearts one at a time. And the connections and what I was raised Presbyterian, which is a Christian faith, but I've been doing interfaith work for the last 15 years.
Wow.
And every faith tradition that promotes love has the same tenets in the core.
Yeah.
To love God, love each other, be kind to each other, do positive work, be honest, be you know, the good in the world. And all we can do is we each have a light, and we just keep shining that light, and that will make a difference. That's it.
Perfect.
I'm done. I've got off my soapbox.
Perfect. No, perfect. That's a perfect way to end it. I can't. That's it. That's, to me, that's also very true. Thank you all. I feel complete. How do you guys feel in Carrie? Interfaith?
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
For-
much.
That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was very fun. Thanks for being here.
You. And may we continue to honor our ancestors and our descendants, you know? Well.
I love the Society of Saints. So definitely we want to hear more as that develops and the spiritual center you have in Hawaii. Keep us posted on how that goes.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, all of you, Kelly. Thank you, all of everyone.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yes. Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll stay in touch.
Mhm.
Have a great night.